All right, I think we're live. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining here tonight. We got a Q&A hangout, just real laid back stream plan for tonight. So if you're joining in the chat, thanks so much for being here. Feel free to drop any questions for myself or for Mark here. And yeah, just kind of get to know each other a little bit, get to know us, and feel free to join in the conversation in the chat. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest for tonight. Uh, Mark, welcome, man. How's it going?
Good, man. How's it going?
Good, good. We were just chatting it up backstage, but yeah, once again, man, thanks again for coming on here, and just gonna be hanging out, man. Just real laid back, whatever comes up, we'll let the conversation kind of come up, organically. Although I do have a few questions that I do want to ask you, but we'll get to that.
Cool. Yeah,
Um,
I like doing these, man. So I was really flattered when you hit me up, and I love coming on and just chatting about movies. If you're like me, I don't have a ton of people in my real life who care to talk about this stuff with me, so it's always a blast. So, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, man, absolutely, and that right there is exactly the reason why I started doing YouTube and things like
Mm.
this was because of that lack of real life connection as far as talking about this medium, which is film. Um, but yeah, man, once again, Mark's here, guys. If you're joining the chat, thanks so much. I'll get to that in a second. But you may know him from YouTube as Tales from the Shelf. So I guess some people might be joining up here, man. I don't know if anyone might not be familiar with you or what you talk about on YouTube. Obviously, mostly movies. But do you just want to talk about real quick? Just a quick intro. What's the main, I guess, primary thing that you focus on YouTube, or kind of just talk about the types of videos that you like to make.
That's an interesting question, man. Because I started in October 2022, and it's been really fun to kind of try a lot of different kinds of videos just to kind of see one what I enjoy most doing and what other people like seeing. Because at the end of the day, we want people to watch what we do. We want to put the hours in and the time in and make good videos so that people watch them, right? So views do matter to an extent. So it's been interesting to see what works and what doesn't. I like making video essays. Those are super fun for me to make. If you see me looking over here, I just have my second monitor, so I have the chat up on the second monitor. But I like making video essays. Those are really fun to make, but they take a lot of time because I like to research them and write scripts and do fun editing and stuff. So I like doing those the most. And then I also am a collector of physical media. You can't see my shelves, but they're on the other side of the room. So I like talking about physical media and stuff like that. So I kind of do a mixture of all different things is sort of what the channel is. And I never wanted to kind of pigeonhole myself into like one specific thing because I feel like that could get boring. I don't want to just be a physical media guy or just be a video essay guy. So we're still in sort of I mean, I've been doing it for like almost 2 years, so we're not really new anymore. But at the same time, I feel like I'm enjoying just kind of doing whatever motivate because the inspiration is really what if I get excited about the idea of making a video, that's when I know it's a good idea because it's going to be rewarding for me. So if I don't ever want to lose that. Sorry, that was a long answer, but
No, man, you're good. No worries. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, where you're coming from, man. Because I feel like sometimes myself, I've gotten kind of stuck in that criterion content, and even though I want to talk about so many other things, but sometimes I just don't even know where to begin. Where to start.
right.
But yeah, man, I remember coming across your channel like pretty early on. Like I remember you were a few videos in. I think I remember seeing your first video, which was one of the Sell It or Shelve It series that you do.
Mm,
I think it was the Memento one,
yeah.
and that's that's pretty cool, man. I like that sort of content because we as collectors can relate to that, of that kind of like curating your collection. Is this worth keeping, or should I just make room for other films that are probably more important to me? and
Yeah.
ones that I would rewatch actually. But yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I enjoyed that series. It's kind of on a pause right now. That's one that, like I was saying earlier, I don't think I've quite figured out the best way to like market that series because it's a branch of like physical media discussion that I don't think is talked about a lot, where it's like instead of bringing new stuff in, I'm trying to get stuff out, and I haven't quite tapped into like how to best go about it, I think. But those are fun to make, and it was a fun way of like getting me to watch stuff like unwatched titles. Because if I'm like, oh well, if I watch this, then I can make a video on it, and it'll be, it'll motivate me to make a video, and then it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. So
Yeah.
those might come back in the form of like shorts. I might just make those like YouTube shorts, because I do think it's an interesting topic and one that a lot of us can relate to. Because like space is limited in my room,
Yeah.
and money is a factor, and we can talk about all that stuff tonight, like budgeting and how to decide what to upgrade and what not to upgrade. It's all that stuff that I want to see more of. Really, is like because so many people are like they talk about physical media, and it's like yeah, I'm just there's sort of that FOMO that comes about where it's like
Mhm.
everyone's buying something, and it's like you don't
Yeah.
really need that. For me at least, I very rarely am like, cause every day it's a new headline where it's like this movie that was released on 4K is now getting a 4K steelbook,
Mhm.
or this Blu-ray is now getting released on 4K. But it's like a movie from like 2022, and it's like, in my opinion, the Blu-ray is probably fine. If I already have it, like
Mhm.
modern films, um, most of the time a Blu-ray is going to be good for me. So like how do you feel about stuff like that?
Yeah, that was actually one thing I wanted to talk to you about because that's another video of yours that I recently watched. Like the one that you did on the 4K to buy or not to buy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I actually kind of agreed with a lot of the things that you said because, like, I'll give you an example. Recently, with the new Twister, the 4K that came out,
Hmm.
I remember finding that Blu-ray, or I must have ordered it off Amazon. I'm not sure, but I got it relatively cheap, and I even watched it recently, like the Blu-ray before the 4K came out. So when the 4K was released, I wasn't in any hurry to rewatch Twister. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you
Like,
just watched it, so it's like when are you going to watch Twister again? Probably not for like a year or something, At least if you're me, I tend to wait a while before rewatching stuff.
yeah, exactly, and kind of like keeping track of my watches on Letterbox has really put things in perspective because it allows me to see how often I rewatch films. And I've
Yeah,
had
dude.
Letterbox I started logging films, I want to say like late 2019, early 2020.
Same. I think it
Yeah.
was early 2019.
Yeah. And I don't have many rewatched films. Like a lot of stuff is first time watches or um, rewatches, from my childhood or something. But
Right.
I think my most rewatched film is in that time span is about 5 times,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
so it's like for Letterbox is cool because it's a app that gets better the longer you use it. Because I
Mhm.
can pull it up right now and tell you when I first watched like The Lighthouse from 2019, and I can tell you the exact day that I watched it and how many times I've seen it since. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. I'm so thankful for Letterboxd because it's just constantly watching movies, and it's just an easy diary to keep track of your thoughts. And I
Exactly.
mean, I can't imagine just not like when did I watch that last, or like it's a good tool to have for sure. But we'll get back to that right now. But I want to catch up with some people that are in here in the chat.
Hmm.
So the view with Drew is here. What's up, man? Thanks for being here. He says, "What's up, everyone?" He says, "Isn't it crazy that Deadpool and Wolverine is only 4 days away?" Yeah,
Damn,
man.
only
Are
4 days, huh? That's crazy.
you planning on catching that early on?
I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'll probably go with like my girlfriend at some point. Because I am interested in seeing it. I'm not like super excited. Like I know a lot of people are. But I think that's gonna wind up being a good thing because I don't like going into excuse me, I don't like going into movies with like crazy high expectations. Because then I might
Yes.
set myself up for failure. But I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, so I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I'll check it out. I'm not usually one to rush to the theater like, release day. I rarely go to the theater nowadays just because just, life busy,
Dude, yeah, same.
and trying to catch up with watching my movies that I actually own. So
Yeah, it's
this
hard to juggle it all, man.
yeah, but you never want this hobby, this passion for movies to become stressful. Like it's I feel like there's levels to being a movie fan or collector. You kind of go through these different levels, and one thing you mentioned earlier was just not having to hold on to everything. I think that's a healthy mindset to have, that getting to that point where you realize, I don't have to own everything. I don't have to keep everything. If I don't think I'm going to rewatch something wrong with letting it go, or, even if it's a steel book, or even though I tend to hold on to those, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's funny because I remember watching your video from like 4 months ago where you talk about why you slowed down on buying physical media in 2024. And I think I left a comment. I'm not sure, but that was a really good video because it was like I was listening to myself talk because you were you had a lot of the same opinions that I did, and obviously it was 4 months ago. I can't remember exactly what you said, but I
Mhm.
remember you were talking about like the Us Steelbook and everything, and um, yeah, no, that was a really good video. So, and that's the kind of stuff I want to see more of, man. Is like, and that one got a lot of views. I think you got like a good
Yeah.
amount of views on that one. So there is a people want to talk about that stuff. They do find it
Mhm.
interesting. So
Where are you doing like most of your shopping nowadays? With would you say most of it's online, or are you still getting a lot of your stuff in store?
90% of it is online. I don't go to Walmart really. It's funny. I actually went into a Target like 3 or 4 days ago, and they had like newish releases still. That because for the longest time at my Target, it was like the same crap from like February, I think, like same movies. And then I went in the one day, and they had like The Boy and the Heron on Blu-ray. They had Challengers Blu-ray, Civil War Blu-ray and 4K. They had Abigail Blu-ray, um, and they had the Twister 4K. And I was like, oh shit! And it was kind of nice because it took me back to being in like back when Best Buy had movies, and I would go in at least once a week just to I would look at Blu-ray.com, see what was coming out, stop in, and it felt nice. You walk out with a stack of 3 or 4 movies. So I actually went and did that again. I grabbed Twister, I grabbed Challengers, Civil War, and Boy and the Heron because those were all movies that I liked.
Mhm.
So I actually kind of broke from my pattern, which is where I'm like, because I've slowed down a lot as well, just on physical media in general. I've slowed down heavily because the reality is a lot of things just I don't need to own. Um, but those movies that I just mentioned, I did really like, and those ones were ones that I did want to own. And to be honest, it just felt nice to walk out of a Target with a nice stack of movies. So I won't do that all the time. That's like a every now and then kind of treat yourself thing.
Mhm.
But it is nice to do every now and then.
Uh, And would you say that most of the movies that you're buying right now, like you go watch them in theaters, or are you still doing a lot of blind buying?
Oh man, blind buy. I used to do a lot of blind buying, especially on like Kino Lorber when they would have their sales where you can get movies for like 8.99 and stuff. But I have a ton of them still on my shelf that I have still not watched. So after a while, I've kind of run out of space, and I'm like, I cannot justify blind buying because I've seen how it winds up for me, where
Mhm.
they just go unwatched. Um, so I've
Gotcha.
slowed down tremendously on that. And yeah, mostly everything is online now. I would say 90% of it's online, which is good because it's kept me a little more. I'm able to exercise restraint better when it's online versus like when I went into Target, I kind of caved and was like, oh shit, there's all these movies that I actually want to buy,
Yeah.
and I wound up leaving with like 4 of them. So when I'm in person, it's harder for me to hold back.
Yeah, I totally understand that because that same thing happens to me. I walked in a Walmart the other day and I left with like Challengers, Civil War, like all these like new releases that well, I did see Civil War in theaters, but I didn't get to see Challengers, so I really wanted to watch that one. So I just got the Blu-ray. But But
Challenges is good. I really like that movie.
yeah, I saw that you gave that a high rating. But
Yeah. Yeah, I watched it twice. I saw that in theaters and then I really liked it. And I didn't get to see Civil War in theaters, so I actually rented that for like $6 because the rental price finally dropped from like 20 to $6.
yeah,
So I rented that, wound up really liking it, and then a couple days later saw it in Target and said, fuck it, I'm gonna buy
yeah,
that.
yeah, man, for sure. Um, like sometimes that happens to me, or like I was talking about with Twister. Like I just saw it in theaters. I don't need to own it. But there's other times where like, yeah, I really enjoy that movie. Like I want to own that on 4K. Check it out at
Yeah.
home, show it to friends, family, whatever.
There's a lot of factors, man, because it's like,
Hmm.
let's say I just watched Twister on Blu-ray. Um, well, I did. I watched it on HBO, but so the point is, you watch something, and then you're like, okay, I'm probably not going to watch this for a long time, and then let's say they happen to just announce a 4K of it is coming out soon, where it's like, well, I just watched that. I'm probably not going to be in the mood to watch that again for at least a year. So if I wind up buying this, it's literally just going to go from the mailbox right onto the shelf,
Hmm.
and it's like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. One thing I've been struggling with, kind of, is wanting to watch movies in the best quality possible, like owning it physically. Like let's say there's a movie I want to discover, right? A movie I've been wanting to watch, a classic, um, and it's streaming on Max. But let's just say that Criterion put it out, and we know we're in the midst of the sale right now.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'll literally prefer to go spend $20 to buy the Criterion and watch it for the first time, even though it's streaming, and I could have watched it, seen if I like it. But then again, I know myself. Like, if even if I like it, I can't justify going out and spending the money. I just watched it, so I always struggle
It's
with
a
that.
it's a
Like,
catch
yeah,
22, isn't it? That's funny. Yeah, I wanted to pick up Peeping Tom. It's a movie I've heard about for a while. I have not seen it, but it's streaming on Criterion Channel, which is their streaming service,
mhm,
and I have that. So I'm like, the smart thing to do would be to watch it first, see if I like it, see if that has any rewatch value, and then consider buying it. But I'm so tempted to just pulling the trigger and blind buying it because I love the idea of having this like seminal 60s slasher film that I've heard so much about for so many years but haven't seen. So it's like, I don't know, part of me feels like even if I did watch it once and kind of be like, yeah, that was okay, I don't think I would hate the fact that I owned it is the problem. So it's this trap that I fall into a lot with Criterion, where it's like very rarely do I regret buying anything, but the smart thing to do is often to just rent it or stream it or something, because like I have plenty of Criterions over there on my Criterion shelf that I've only watched once and might
mhm.
not ever watch again. So, but it's
Yeah,
like I
dude.
don't want to get rid of these because they're Criterions. They're not just like normal Blu-rays. Like they're special. So it's like, and I like seeing them all with their spines. They know
Hmm.
what they're doing, man. They know what they're
Yep,
doing over at Criterion.
yep. I know exactly what you mean, man.
Yeah, I feel like this is very common stuff. Like everyone can relate to this, if you're a collector.
Yeah, and I think that's why those videos do so well, because other people can relate to it. Like what you said about thinking the way I do. I feel the same way sometimes watching your videos, man. Like when you're talking about, is this worth the upgrade? Or I didn't upgrade because of this. Like, yeah, that's me. Like I think the same way.
Yeah. It's like every movie is like such a it's a case by case basis, I don't want to ever make like a blanket statement about just, everything,
Hmm.
where like, I think I talked about like Crimson Peak in the latest video that I did,
Yeah,
where they just dropped that super cool Arrow Deluxe edition. I can't remember how much it was. I think it was like 40 or $50.
I think it was about 45. Yeah.
And it was like super cool. And it's like, this movie's dope. I like it. It's not my favorite movie of all time, but like, I really like the aesthetics of it. It's Guillermo del Toro. He's a good filmmaker. So I'm naturally inclined to just want to own that because I think that's just everything about it is cool, even if it's not like my favorite movie.
Hmm.
But then I find the standard Blu-ray, like in the wild for like, $8 to $10. And
And
I'm like,
did
well,
you buy that when you had already heard of the announcement?
yeah, so the announcement was out. It was like in the ether. Like I knew it was coming out. and then I stumbled across it in the wild, and I said, honestly, I just want to rewatch this again. I want to own it, and I want to rewatch it again. So I could do it for $10 or I could do it for $50. So in that
Yeah.
particular instance, I think it just made more sense. But it's like if maybe I hadn't seen it in the wild, and then maybe I would have bought
Yeah.
the deluxe edition. So it's like every
Yeah.
movie is a different it is different circumstances, and it's like this movie might look better on 4K than this one. Like Crimson Peak probably would look good in 4K because it's a very it's a beautiful movie, I guess is what you would say. It's got a lot of really thoughtful set design and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think in your case it probably made sense. But like for me, like I didn't own it, and Del Toro's probably one of my favorite filmmakers. So it was like a no brainer for me, and I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
box set. So like I didn't own it, love the director.
Oh yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
That's one
And
of those things.
I should also clarify that I'm only ever talking about my own situation, right? I'm never gonna like judge someone for
Yeah,
what they buy and what they don't buy, because everyone has different budgets, different amount of space to keep things. Like, there's so
absolutely.
many factors and variables that I would never just be like, "Oh, you're dumb if you waste your money on that or something." But
Yeah,
I do think it's important to be like a smart shopper. So like I watch a lot of reviews. I watch, Jeff at Films at Home. I watch Ken, and I try to do my research and see what they have to say about it. Because they tend to keep it, pretty honest, and they'll shoot you straight, and they'll tell you like, they're pretty honest about it, and they're like, hey, I really like this, but honestly, you might be good with the Blu-ray, or they'll tell you the Blu-ray is bad, and this is a big improvement. So it's all about just doing your homework.
hmm yep. And real quick, shout out to Laren. He's here in the chat. So
There's the
Laren's a
man.
great guy. Yeah. Good evening. What's going on, Laren? Hope you're doing well, bud.
Yeah, he's the man. He's always
And
supporting and showing love.
oh yeah, man, he's a real one. And Inspector Gadget in the house. What's going on, dude? Great guest and host. Thank you, thank you. Do you either of you believe my two films should get added to Criterion or not?
Maybe not Criterion, but I could see like Shout Select doing that, or maybe like Kino Lorber would be a good fit for Inspector Gadget. I could see like a double feature or something, like a
Ni-
2-pack that they do. That'd be cool.
Nice deluxe box set, kind of like Arrow did with the Conan Chronicles.
Yeah, maybe like the Bill and Ted thing that Shout did. I could see that.
Drew says he's seeing Deadpool and Wolverine opening night. Awesome, man. That
That
sounds
should be
great.
fun, man. That should be a full theater. That's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I miss those midnight showings, man, with those crowds, just everybody hyped. Those are some good times.
Dude, yeah, I saw back in May, I saw Strangers Chapter 1, and it was like a full theater. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be bad. Like everyone's going to talk through this movie." And luckily the movie was actually really bad. So the fact that everyone was talking and like making fun of the movie actually made it a pretty fun time. And then I saw Long Legs not long ago. Same thing, full theater, and I was like, "Oh, everyone's going to talk through this movie again." It was completely silent. Like nobody talked at all. So you never know what you're gonna get, man. Sometimes you'll get really, really respectful crowd, and other times you won't. So I guess it depends on the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a gamble whenever you go to the theater. You never know.
Yeah, it all
I
takes is one fucking guy to like ruin the experience, dude.
Yeah, you see that one guy on his phone as the movie's about to begin. It's like, dude, you have about 10 seconds to turn that off before I
Right?
lose my.
Like I'll give you till the trailers, and then it's like, like I remember I saw, excuse me, I saw Godzilla -1 in theaters, and it was I went by myself, and there was like a bunch of kids behind me who wouldn't be quiet. So this is the only time I've ever had to do this. I actually got up, went to look for like a manager or something, and I was like, "Hey, like, there's a bunch of kids in my theater, like, and they just won't be quiet." And the dude like looked really serious. He was like, "What theater you in?" And I was like, "Oh, let's go." I'm like, "This guy's gonna help me." So I'm like, "Oh, I'm in that one," and he's like, "All right, but like."
This guy
I'm
means
like,
business.
I was like, "Can you just like wait a minute before you come in so they don't think I like went and narked on them?" He was like, "Dude, I got you." So he came in and kicked them out. It was like the most satisfying feeling, dude, because like these kids were not, they didn't care about the movie, they just were there to talk, and it was such a good feeling seeing them get kicked out, man.
Which is strange. Well, considering the prices of tickets nowadays, like you're gonna spend all that money just to sit and talk.
Yeah, just hang out at your house if that's all you're gonna do, man. I mean, I get it. They're kids. Like that's what I used to do, but I wouldn't talk. Like I would go to the movies because I was bored, but I wouldn't talk. Like I would actually want to see the movies. You know.
And then Drew has a good question here. Might have to think about this one. What's a movie sequel you think should have ended the franchise? Do any come to mind for you?
A movie sequel. So not the original, but a sequel that. So maybe like the second movie. I guess it could be anyone though.
Mm-hmm.
Um. That is tough.
I think I got one.
You give yours first. I need to look at my shelf for some inspiration over here.
All right.
Oh, I
think
got
I'm.
one.
I think even though I haven't seen every film of the franchise. I haven't heard great things from a lot of them. I would say Aliens because I think
Mm,
Alien and Aliens are just such a good 1-2 punch and are both like classics. I think that would have just been a nice, 1-2 and call it a day.
that's so funny you say that because I was also gonna pick Aliens, but we have Alien Romulus
That's
coming out,
true.
and
That's
I'm like,
true.
that looks like it's gonna be really good. So I would hate to say, I don't want to maybe live in a world without Alien Romulus because that could potentially be super dope.
That's true. I might have to retract that one then.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough because it's like any day they could announce a sequel that's like, brings something back to its heyday and like really captures the spirit. I'm gonna say like Halloween 2. I don't like most of the Halloween sequels. I think there's more bad ones than good ones. And I actually really like Halloween 2, and the sister storyline doesn't bother me terribly. I don't like a Michael Myers with like a motivation, but Halloween 2 is a fun movie, so yeah, I'll go with Halloween 2.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't love Season of the Witch the first time I watched it, but think about it now. I think I would really like. I enjoy it as a Halloween, season during the spooky season. It's a fun watch.
Yeah, yeah,
If you just take it for what it is, it's a fun movie.
yeah. I would agree.
Then Evan says Eddie's videos where he reflects on the habits and addictions of this hobby always cut deep. Oh my
I think
gosh,
that's maybe what it is. Like people like it but I also feel like people don't like having the mirror like shine in their face and like having to sit with
getting
their
called out.
decisions. Yeah, it's I think it's important though. Like I started keeping I actually have to update it. I started keeping like a journal where I write down every where I like write down every purchase that I make, and then I keep like a tally so that I can tell you like exactly how much money I spend on physical media in a year. And I could actually
Oh
tell you
wow,
what
that's very responsible of you, man. I haven't gotten there yet.
it's cool, but it's also like you have to remember to keep up with it. Which I haven't. I haven't updated it since June, but it should be easy. All I have to do is go through my Instagram and like see what I've posted. The fact that I've slowed down so much helps. But I think I spent like over $2,000 on physical media last year, so I was like, I got to bring that number down because like that's like $2,000 that I would rather maybe have in my bank account. So
Yeah, man. When you think about it that way, I mean, I honestly would have no clue to tell you the truth. I don't really keep track of how much I spend. I should.
well, it's something that not everyone needs to do, but for me, I found it to be useful because like let's say the first 3 months of the year I spend very little. I'll feel better about spending some money in the middle of the year because the beginning I've spent very little. So it's just good to kind of keep track of stuff.
And
Fans of something.
another Eddie here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It's
you guys are both the Eddies.
I love these guys. I said that in the Ghostface voice. What's
Right?
that?
Yeah, Eddie's the man. I was on his channel last year around October, I want to say, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Him and Haley are a blast. And he has a question for us here. Can you both give me your current July 22nd Mount Rushmore of filmmakers? And don't forget, there's 4. Some people forget there's 4.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can take it if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Mount Rushmore of filmmakers, and this can change. It's not set in stone forever, but yeah, currently right now today, I have to say Tarantino for sure. Um, Del Toro.
Okay.
So Tarantino, Del Toro, um, Wilder. I think Billy Wilder is a newer one that's
Oh
been added
wow,
to my list.
that's a good pick.
Yeah, great films, man. He's a great filmmaker, and it's between Cameron and Kubrick right now. I don't know
Damn.
who to put in that last spot, but I think Cameron has more of my personal favorites, so I'm gonna have to go with Cameron. So Tarantino, Del Toro, Billy Wilder, and James Cameron.
That's a really diverse top four. I really like that. All right, so I'm gonna say Mike Flanagan. Definitely Mike Flanagan. Did
Think we lost you, Mark. Are you there, or is it just me? I think we may have lost Mark for a second, guys, but it'll give me a chance to catch up with the chat while he gets back in here. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, man, on my end, but you're frozen on my screen. Can y'all see Mark? Let me know in the chat. Or is he frozen on your screen as well? Because I lost him over here. But yeah, good question, man. Oh, I think he messaged me. Yeah, his internet dropped. All right. Yeah, no worries, man. Let me just let him know real quick. That's what happens when you go live, guys. You never know what's gonna happen. I think he's back. Let's see. There you are.
Hey, sorry, man. I think I
Nah, you're
lost. I
good.
think I lost internet.
No
I,
worries, man.
there may or may not be a thunderstorm happening outside. I'm in the basement, so I can't tell. Um. Anyway,
You're
what
good,
was the
man.
last thing you heard me say?
The last thing I heard was Flanagan.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So my number one would be Mike Flanagan. I'm gonna say Denis Villeneuve of from Dune and Blade Runner and everything.
Good one.
I'll say Scorsese. I'm okay with saying Scorsese, and then I'll also say Dario Argento.
Nice. Nice. That's a good Mount Rushmore right there.
But
Um,
it's so hard to pick because there's so many that I love.
yeah, dude. I feel that Villeneuve is Villeneuve. Can't say it right.
It's like French Canadian. I think it's. I'm never convinced I'm saying it right, but we all you can just say Denis.
Denis.
I thought
Denis
his name.
one.
I thought his name was Dennis for a long time, but it's actually Denis. So
Yeah, he's one that's kind of in and out of mine as well. Like
yeah,
I love Prisoners. I love what's another one? Arrival.
Arrival's so good.
S-
Blade Runner
Sic-
2049 is
Sic-
amazing.
I haven't seen that one,
Oh, dude, you
but
gotta check that out.
Sicario is like those are all like
Yeah,
so good.
he hasn't missed. Like he's got no misses. I haven't seen his French Canadian films, like Polytechnique and Incendies. I haven't seen, but I definitely want to check them out one day. But even if you're
Did
just going by his American stuff, like he's solid.
did he do that one with Jake Gyllenhaal, Enemy as well?
Yeah, yeah, he did
That was
Enemy
him.
too.
Oh, okay, that
Yeah,
was the only one that was a little bit iffy for me. Like it was somewhat of a
yeah,
miss.
yeah. That one's like definitely pretty divisive, I think, with a lot of people. But it's not a bad movie. I think it's gonna do more for some than maybe it's gonna do for others.
Yeah, maybe on a rewatch I'll
Yeah,
pick up some more on it. But
Holland Oates. That's another
Holland,
guy. Oh, or maybe it's a guy. I'm not even sure. Another person who is always showing love and supporting everyone. Holland Oates is the best.
yeah, absolutely, man. Holland, one of the goats, always in the comment section, supporting all the creators here.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that. And Evan says, always thankful to those who buy up everything and keep the labels thriving. Yeah, giving
Yeah,
them business.
I agree with that. Listen, it's even if I'm not the one buying all the movies, um, I'm glad that there are people who do buy everything because it lets me know like what's worth getting and what isn't. So, you know, It takes all kinds.
And then Eddie says, I know he's a big Cameron fan as well, so appreciates the Cameron love.
Hell yeah.
Um, I want to go back real quick, man, because I know you mentioned a lot of like horror filmmakers in there with Flanagan. I know he's done a lot of TV stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm assuming you're a big fan of Midnight Mass.
Oh, dude, Midnight Mass is the best thing Flanagan's ever done, in my opinion. I think it is an incredible show. I have very fond memories of watching that for the first time. I think I watched like an episode a night every night for a week or whatever, and it was such a great experience because I was just like every day I'd be at work like I can't wait to get home and like watch another episode, and I didn't want it to end. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was such an amazing show.
Yeah, man, that was I was really impressed by that show. It was really good. I'm right there with you. So would you say that horror is your favorite genre or one of your favorites? Where does that kind of?
Yeah, it's definitely got to be my favorite. I think just like statistically, like I think I've seen more horror than like if I go on Letterboxd, I think horror is like the genre I've seen the most movies of. And obviously the channel name like Tales from the Shelf
Mhm.
is a play on Tales from the Crypt and whatnot. Um but I love all kinds of movies. I love romance movies. I love, everything. Dramas, action, comedy. I love it all. So
Gotcha. So, like, tell me about your first, or what was one of your first experiences that you recall, like, watching a horror movie? Do you know the first horror movie you watched?
I want to say it was Halloween, man, and I think like when I was a kid, we we had all like we I think we had like the first 3 Halloweens on VHS, and just the VHS tapes scared me. They would be on the shelf, and they were always in a specific spot, and even if I just looked at them, they would creep me out. And I think every nightmare I ever had as a kid was about Michael Myers. Like literally years, I had nightmares like every night, and
Wow.
it was crazy. Like, it was terrifying. It scared the shit out of me. I saw it when I was way too young. Had no business seeing it. Um, Even had like my stepdad. Like I think one Halloween, I very this was I was very young, so my memory of it is fuzzy. But I remember him like it was Halloween night one night, and we were all supposed to be sleeping. And my stepdad like burst into the room with like a Michael Myers mask on and just fucking like super fucked up in hindsight. Like I don't know why he did that, but like that's a memory that's kind of I'll never forget. And yeah, man, like Halloween was definitely the one. And then it's funny because now Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. I also think it's the best. So there's a difference between like what my favorite one is and what I think the best one is with like most things, but with my favorite horror movie, I think they're one and the same. I think Halloween is the best horror movie ever made.
So you'd say that I'm safe to say that Halloween is your favorite horror movie?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite, and I also think it's the best one ever made. Like,
Oh, okay. So, okay, gotcha.
yeah. So like
So,
a lot of people kind of get that like confused and stuff. Like, well, they'll
yeah, just
say
because
like
something's your favorite doesn't mean that you necessarily think it's
the best.
objectively
Yeah.
good.
No, but with that, like I can confidently say, and obviously it's just my opinion, but I do think it's like the best ever made for sure. It's just so subtle and like so quiet and eerie and doesn't really need a ton, to kind of be effective. I think it's just
Yeah.
a masterful film. So
Yeah, I agree, man. I think, well, if I had to pick a favorite horror movie, Halloween would definitely be up there. Like, gun to my head, favorite horror film, Halloween. I think so. And I saw that later in life. Like, I had different experience from you. Um, I saw it within the last 5 years. Because,
interesting.
yeah, because I don't know, were you kind of born in, around what year?
I was born in '94.
94? Okay,
So,
so we're around
so
the same age. I'm from 91.
oh, cool.
So,
Yeah, I can't remember a time in my life where I didn't know what Halloween was. So like it's always kind of been with me. And I think my relationship with it has like developed over time where like as I got older, I was like, what was that movie that, used to fucking terrify me? Um, and I've always loved movies. It's something that so similar to Halloween, I was shown a lot of other movies when I was young. I was shown movies like Highlander and Spawn and Mortal Kombat, and like I think of movies like that, all from like the '90s, that really like shaped my taste and stuff. So like I've always loved movies, and then like as I've gotten older, I got more into like collecting and everything like that, and like owning movies. So now I'm like I don't double dip a lot, but like for Halloween, I have like 5 different copies of Halloween. You know what I mean? So it's one of those for me for sure.
Mhm. So you went through the whole like VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, I'm assuming.
Well, I didn't always collect. So um, like I was saying, we had the VHS tapes when I was a kid, right? So like physical media has always been a part of my life. And then I had an aunt that I would frequently go to her house when I was young, and she had like a very big collection of DVDs. And always used to think that was so cool because I was like, man, you have so many movies. And I loved like as a kid, sitting in front of her shelf and like going through all the titles and be like, wow, you have every season of like Family Guy.
Mhm.
Like, let's watch some Family. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
then my stepdad, he used to, it's funny, it's totally illegal, but he had a business where he would go to Blockbuster and he would rent all the new releases and he would burn them and he would sell them to his coworkers. So it was crazy, like totally illegal. But like
Yeah.
whenever he lived in Pennsylvania, so every time I would go visit him in Pennsylvania, I would look at his massive wall of movies. They were all bootleg movies.
He
But
had all the new releases, all the
yeah, I mean, I didn't care because I could watch them and stuff. But like, sorry, this is a long-winded answer. But basically, movies have just always been around, and I think subconsciously, I think I always knew I wanted to have my own collection one day.
Yeah, I remember also some family members of mine with these huge like DVD collections, and it was always such a flex back in the day. Like, man, you got a lot of movies. Like, that's awesome. And I
Yeah,
feel like I don't know if people see it the same way anymore. I feel like some people think it's weird or a waste of. I don't know how it is with you and your friends right now, but I mean, me personally, it's not something that I really talk about too much with people in my life, like friends. It's not something I
no,
bring up. I feel like people at work, I kind of just keep it to myself. I feel like just people wouldn't really get it. That's
yeah,
just.
yeah, 100%. Like my friends all know about it. They know that I have this huge collection, and like they think it's cool, and I think they can respect it, but it's not something they would ever need or ever do.
Mhm. Yeah.
So and then like I have one coworker who loves like horror films. He loves like trauma films, if you know what that is, like Lloyd Kaufman and stuff, Toxic Avenger, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
He loves like the really sleazy stuff. So like me and him can sometimes talk about movies, but especially horror films, but outside of that I can't really like talk to him about like the other things that I've been watching. He's basically only watches like horror movies from what I can tell. So there's some outlets in my real life, but not many.
Yeah, I don't think I know anybody in my personal life that collects like at all. I can't think of anybody.
Yeah,
There's no one. Yeah.
it's funny because when I was buying all my movies from Target, just like I was talking about the other day, the guy who rang me up saw how many movies I had, and he was like, "Are you a film collector?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And he was like, "Oh, well, nice to meet you." And he like shook my hand and stuff. And he saw that I was buying Twister, and he was like, "Oh, I want to get that one because I hear it's like a reference quality disc." And it was so bizarre hearing somebody talk about that like in real life,
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I'm excited to check it out with like the subwoofer and shit. And it was kind of surreal, because you don't really come across that too often in your real life. So that was fun. I liked that.
Yeah, like I guess you see some collectors out in the wild when you're out shopping, especially right
Yeah,
now, going to the Barnes and Noble locations and you see other people checking out the Criterion section, and I kind of want to be like, hey, like me too.
yeah. Like when I would be in Best Buy back when they were still selling movies, like occasionally you would see other people in the aisle like looking too. But I'd always be kind of curious, like, are you just looking? Like, do you just buy movies occasionally, or are you
Yeah.
like me where you're checking Blu-ray.com every Tuesday? Like, so there's levels to it, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
never actually. It's funny. You want to strike. You almost want to strike up a conversation with random people, but I never would just because I would feel weird. But
Yeah. Same here. And I think we're definitely in the minority. But like, because even back when I started collecting, I would really only buy during Black Friday sales. Like that's when I would do my shopping for movies because I wouldn't buy throughout the year unless there was a movie that came out in theaters that I saw and I was like, wow, like that was amazing. I need to own that. But aside from that, I would Black Friday was when I would buy movies, and that's how I collected for a while.
that's a
Uh,
smart way to do it, man. That really is because like I would try to be like that. I would try to go to places like Goodwill and places like Big Lots. I've even found movies at like Dollar General and stuff. That I wanted to keep, but like that's definitely the smart way to do it.
yeah, but this was way back when. I'm not like that at all anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we kind of flip flopped where now I am kind of like that. Where like if I see a movie that I really liked in theaters, then I will get it like day one, like Dune 2. I pretty much got that as soon as it came out because I was excited for it. But most things I'm not in any rush for. An easy way for me to do it is like I keep a list on Letterboxd of all the new movies that I've seen in every year. So I'll look at my 2024 list and pretty much if you're not in like the top 10 or 15, I don't really need to own you. Like so Dune 2 and Challengers and movies like that, Civil War that I really liked. Um those are the ones where I can easily point to that and be like, okay, that's an easy like I would buy that for sure. And then other ones like Abigail is an example of a movie that I thought was fine, but I didn't love it, and I certainly don't think I need to own
Yeah,
it.
I'm kind of with you on Abigail. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind owning it, but that for a movie like that, I would definitely wait for a price drop.
Yeah,
Like I would pick it up at the right price. Yeah.
that's the thing, man. It's like I don't. I wouldn't mind owning this, but I don't need to own it right now, and I certainly don't need to own it for the new release price. So I've just gotten so selective with how like what I buy and when I buy it, basically.
Yeah, I guess. Do you feel like physical media prices have kind of gone up in the recent years, or do you feel like kind of been stable, or what's kind of your? Because I haven't really been keeping up. It's not something that I keep track of, or keep data on, or anything like that. But I don't know if you keep track of that, or think about to
It's
look at that at all.
it seems to be the case, right? Because like I watch I watch mid-level media a lot. I'm not sure if you do as well, but I even though I'm not collecting as much, I still enjoy watching like the physical media report and everything. And it seems that ever since Best Buy got out of the game, things start super expensive, specifically on Amazon, where the pre-order prices are super high, and then they tend to drop as they get closer to their release date. I don't know if that's something that's been happening since back when Best Buy was still selling movies. So I couldn't speak to that, but that seems to be the case now because it kind of feels like with Best Buy out of the picture, they can kind of get away with more. I think I could be wrong on that, but I don't keep a track of prices really because I'm really only ever looking at the prices of things that I'm interested in buying.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, things will come across your radar without you having to seek them out, and you'll see what prices are for sales and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like they kind of haven't because I remember Blu-rays coming out like at maybe 22 dollars if I'm not mistaken, and wasn't Abigail up to like 25 or something like
I
that? Like
think it was like 25, yeah, for a Blu-ray, which is like
that's crazy.
I guess that's normal. I don't know. For new release, I think that's normal, and then like it'll definitely go down. I think, but then you're not getting the slipcover and
Yeah,
stuff. So like that, not that that matters a ton to me. Obviously, I would prefer them, but I don't need it.
I used to buy DVDs just because it was the cheapest option. Like because I I've kind of been a collector my whole life, but on and off, I'd buy a DVD maybe like two or three a year here and there, like real. Not even really consider myself a collector. So so I would just buy the DVDs because they were the cheapest option. But then as kind of I became more involved, of course, I started thinking about slip covers and special editions, things like that. So yeah, of course, now I always go for the the 4K or steelbook, boutique labels, things like that. But
That's how they suck you in, man. It's like when I distinctly remember in like 2018 is when I really began collecting like hardcore, and I was like, I was using my sister's Amazon Prime account because I was like, I want to own all my favorite horror movies. So the first ones I remember buying were Fright Night, um, Halloween, and what was the other one? It might have been Black Christmas, but I'm not sure. Um,
all
and,
bangers.
right, and I'm like looking through the Amazon listings, and I'm like, there's a pretty boring looking one, but what's this one with this really cool artwork? And that's how I discovered like um, Arrow Video and Scream Factory. Because eventually these things would come in the mail, and I would notice them after I had a couple. I was like, oh, these all have the same little logo on the spine. I'm like, I wonder what that's all about. And then that's how I discovered what these labels were. And it was like, once that happened, dude, it was over. Like it was a wrap. So I was like, oh, it got to a point where I would just buy anything that had the Scream Factory label on it. Like I didn't even care if it was a good movie or not.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we've all been there. So that's kind of what got you into collecting, is just wanting to own your favorite horror movies.
That's where I started. Was like, I want to start with like the heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to own all of my favorite movies, basically. Like that's where it
Gotcha.
began. So it was like, I think of movies like The Godfather, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, like not even necessarily horror, but like movies that I know I love and have
Yeah.
always loved.
Oh, I
And it
gotcha.
starts from there, and then you kind of branch out, and you're like, well, what else
Yeah.
is out there? Like
Exactly.
I like this movie from Scream Factory. Maybe this other movie that I've never heard of, I'll like, and then you wind up blind buying all kinds of shit. So,
Yeah.
and I've found great shit that way too. But I've also found movies that I'll never watch again. So,
A couple of duds. Um, yeah, I think what did it for me, like what really propelled me to become a collector, was the 4K game. Because I never, because I lived with my parents back in the time, of course, back in the day, and I wanted a TV in my room, and well, 4K was kind of the craze. That's what was coming up. The 4K TV, everybody had to have a 4K TV. So when I finally got it, I lived out like kind of in the outskirts. We didn't really have good internet, anything like that. I could, even if I tried streaming Netflix, it looked like crap. So I'm thinking, what's the point of this 4K TV if everything I watch looks like shit? So
mm-hmm.
I was like, nah, I need to do something about this. So that's when I started finding out about 4K and 4K discs, and it's just the rest is history, man. I went out and, well, I didn't really know too much about it because I didn't even have a 4K player. So I bought a 4K movie, not even realizing that I needed all the
That you
equipment.
would,
Yeah,
yeah,
I only had a PS4 at the time, so I ended up buying a real cheap entry level 4K player, and well, that's kind of how I got into it. And I mean, I started with 4Ks, but then like there were certain movies that I wanted that didn't have the 4K, and I didn't want to be, oh, I'm only going to buy it if it's on 4K, because realistically some movies are just never going to get that treatment.
mm-hmm.
So ended up settling for some Blu-rays, or well, I don't want to say settling, but ended up buying some Blu-rays, and you know how it goes. Just ended up keep going from there.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Like I started out and I was only buying Blu-rays because in 2018, 4K was still pretty new. So in many ways, I always say this. In many ways, I think I started collecting at the worst possible time because right when 4K was just kind of popping off, I was buying up all my favorite movies on Blu-ray. So it reached a point where I eventually owned all my favorite movies, and now all my favorite movies are coming out in 4K, and I have the Blu-rays.
So you had to do
So,
that whole, should I upgrade?
I was faced with a lot of decisions where it was like, do I need this on 4K? Do I not? And it was like, in most cases, I did not. So, a lot of things I just have Blu-rays. And then eventually, I think I only got my first 4K player in like 2021. So it really hasn't been that long. But eventually I was like, okay, what do I need to start actually watching 4K? So I got my player. I have a nice TV in the other room where I can really get like it's like an OLED, so I really get the most out of it. And I have like a 2.1 sound bar with like a subwoofer. So it's not crazy. It's not like surround sound, but you'll definitely notice like an improvement. So that's when I was like, oh, okay, like there's something to this whole 4K thing. But I don't buy everything in 4K. Um, if it's a movie that I think will benefit from it, then obviously I'll get the 4K. So again, like we were saying earlier, it's very much like case by case basis.
Yep, exactly. And I think this one's for you. Evan says, no Carpenter as a horror fan. Hard not to put Kurosawa up there as his films have inspired and influenced so many other stories. So yeah, why don't you have Carpenter up there, man? What's wrong with you?
Dude, it's hard because obviously Halloween is great. I love The Thing. I think The Thing is amazing. I really love The Fog, and I really like Christine.
Oh,
So,
Christine, so good.
I love Christine. I saw that in theaters recently for a re-release. I think early, maybe late last year. I think I can't quite remember. But there's a lot of Carpenter movies that are just like, they're okay. So I don't know. He probably is Hall of Fame, Mount Rushmore worthy, but I wanted to shine some light on some other people. So
Yeah, for sure. Holland says he found Laren. Cool, nice. And then Katie, oh my God, you was born in 91. You don't look so old. Well, thanks.
yeah,
uh,
uh, yeah. People tell me I don't look like my age a lot, which is nice. It's a nice thing to hear.
Fans of something with a question. Yeah, drop a couple questions, guys. If you have any questions left, for sure, drop them in because not going to be here on for too long. So we'll get some questions in before we go. He says, which would you rather bring back, Blockbuster or Redbox? That's a good one. I mean,
Def-
easy one for me, but
Definitely Blockbuster. I was
yeah,
never. By the time Redbox was getting to be popular, I was just. I wasn't really. When did Redbox get popular? It's like I feel like most of the time I was just renting stuff online, like for like the VOD stuff. I
yeah. Never
saw
really got
the
into Redbox.
never really saw the appeal of it. No, I didn't really. It was like you took all the fun out of a Blockbuster and made it into a
Yeah,
vending machine. Like it's not.
I can see that. And then you'd get
Yeah,
the discs all scratched.
yeah. No,
Well,
I never found the appeal to that.
well, for me, Blockbuster easy, but kind of going back to what I was saying earlier with my living situation at the time, not really having reliable internet. Redbox came in pretty clutch for me. I would use it quite often. So I
That
mean,
makes sense.
yeah,
That makes sense because I often forget that there's a lot of people. Like I had a friend that I was talking to a while back when Netflix stopped doing their DVD subscription. And he was like actually really upset about it because he would rent stuff all the time. And I like forgot that there was people who still use that because you think of streaming and it's like, well, who's still like getting the discs? I thought everyone just streamed Netflix. Apparently a lot of people still did, especially people who live like out in like the Midwest where it's not so populated and they don't have the best internet. And I think a lot of people just kind of forget that there are a lot of places like that that don't necessarily have like 5G, everything that's required for like 4K streams.
Drew says Logan should have ended the Fox X-Men saga. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see how Deadpool goes.
He also says Furious 7 should have ended the Fast and Furious franchise. So yeah, I guess he's like another take on the question because this isn't necessarily like a direct sequel. These are more like uh, towards the end of the franchises. But I get that. Yeah, that makes sense. I agree. I think it probably should have ended around there.
Yeah, those movies just make too much money, so they're just not going to stop. So
Yeah, I mean that's the name of the game right there. Just it says Terminator 2 Judgment Day should have ended the Terminator franchise. Yeah, I didn't even think about that one.
that
That kind of
seems
seems like a no brainer.
that seems like the obvious answer because they have not made a. I think Terminator Salvation is interesting, but yeah, could probably do without it. Like I think yeah, 2 is definitely the place they could have stopped.
Yeah, if I want to rewatch that franchise, I'm definitely only watching the first two. Maybe Dark Fate, I'll throw it in there, but
Yeah, Dark Fate was okay. I didn't hate Dark Fate. I thought it was fine.
Laren agrees. And then it says 5 watching, 4 likes. Who is the one person not liking this stream? Yeah. Appreciate it if you hit the like button. Yeah. I never really asked for those. So I really bad at promoting myself on here, but
Hey man, it's all good.
and great new logo. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm
When did
trying.
when did you get the new logo? I didn't even notice.
Um, I don't know, a couple of days ago, I guess. I've been trying to kind of up my game, when it comes to YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
No, it's really cool. It's pretty slick. I like it.
Thanks, man. I don't have the intro. I don't have, none of the fancy edits, but I'm trying. I'm trying slowly but surely. Because I mean, when I started, man, like I never really had in mind to grow. I never saw myself as like this big channel, and I was never really my goal. It was just kind of like what we were talking about, just an outlet for discussing something that we're passionate about. And yeah, man, that's kind of the reason why. So that's why I don't really like. I don't like to put my stuff on Instagram all the time, except for the occasional, live stream coming up, come hang out, that sort of thing. It's not so much like new video, um, go check it out, share it. Like I'm not really, I'm not really like that.
Yeah. I had my Instagram page years and years before I ever made YouTube. So I kind of built up a community of people on there that, I was just friendly with. And then once I started doing YouTube, it felt weird like promoting a YouTube video to these to my friends and stuff, like everyone that I like follows me on Instagram, because it was like I don't know, it just feels odd because you're like, hey, check out this like video, and it's like not what they maybe follow you for or like
Yep.
know you for. I don't know. It's hard to articulate, and then it's like I don't ever want to like make it feel like I'm just kind of like less like on a personable level where it feels like I'm just kind of putting out ads for my videos all the time and not like posting like
Yep.
the things that people can maybe relate to, because not
Yep.
everyone has a YouTube channel. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a little
Yeah.
hard to
No, I get you, man.
it's hard to articulate.
Yeah, I agree. And like for me, I kind of stopped doing the whole, I did it at first, but I don't do the whole, subscribe, like nothing wrong with people that do that, and nothing against them, but just for me, like that's not why I make videos. I make videos just to kind of start a conversation, just to get my thoughts out there.
Yeah,
Because I think my most watched video, I believe, is one that I did on is collecting physical media worth it. And that's not something that I sat down and planned, like, I'm going to say this and this is why it's worth it or why it's not worth it. Like, I literally remember waking up that day and just like, I want to make a video. Like, I haven't made a video in a while. I'm just going to sit down, whatever comes to my mind, I'm going to talk about it. And that was I think it's my most watched video on my channel. And because a lot of people ask themselves that, like, is this hobby worth it? Is it going to be around for my lifetime? Is it worth the money, all the time I'm putting into this? And they want the answers to these questions, but it's like case by case thing. There's no one right answer. It's just your situation. What do
yeah.
you want to get out of it?
No, dude, I think my number one video, most watched video is uh one. It's the first 4K to buy or not to buy that I did. So I just did another one recently, and then I think like 10 months ago I did the first one, and that's got like 10,000 views, I think, which was crazy to see. I didn't expect that, but it was like, yeah, I just kind of put that out, like not expecting it to kind of get as many views as it did.
Yeah, I guess it goes like that sometimes. And then the ones that you really put in work don't really do much.
That's the shit that drives me nuts, man, where it's like the video where I do so much editing and I write a script and it takes me weeks and weeks to make doesn't do so hot. And then the one where I sit down in front of a camera and just talk about Blu-rays that I own, it gets like a crazy amount of views. It's very like that's what can be disheartening about the whole YouTube thing, and it's what makes you have to kind of like because I like doing a lot of different stuff. I don't like I said earlier, I don't want
Mhm.
to ever be one thing. Like I don't want to just put out physical media videos because I think that they'll get good views. Like because that's not going to be fun for me. Like I like having a mixture of things. So and there's plenty of people who do the physical media thing better than I do. So I don't know. It would feel like I'm just kind of faking it, and I don't ever. I want my videos to kind of feel like like they're coming from a place of like, oh, you can tell he's like actually excited about this.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I get that, man. Um, and then Ed has another follow up question: is it AI generated? Yeah, it is actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is it
Damn.
that obvious? I don't know. I'm not like savvy when it comes to making those kinds of things, but I'm barely getting the hang of making thumbnails, if I'm going to be honest.
Dude, that's like something that I'm just now starting to like um get the hang of because like I have a friend that helps me with my channel a lot. He made my intro, he made my logo for me. He's like really he's really talented and stuff. He's like a graphic designer, a video editor, like he makes music, like he knows a lot about the technical side of things. So I'm actually very lucky because he helped me out a lot with learning like learning Premiere, like that kind of thing. So like a lot of my if you look at my feed actually like of my videos, it's funny because you can probably tell which thumbnails he did and which ones I did. Because mine aren't great and his are like pretty solid. So but I've been learning to do it myself because I don't like having to like rely on him to help me with like thumbnails and stuff.
Mhm.
Because it's cool and stuff, but I like being able to get everything done on my own timetable and stuff. So I always credit him and everything like in the description and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, that's something that is like they don't tell you about. Like when you're getting into YouTube, you're like, oh, you're gonna have to learn how to make a good thumbnail and everything like that. I actually do. I have like my own like live shows that I do with him on my channel, where we kind of just shoot the shit about different stuff. Um, so
Yeah, I need to catch one of those. Um, well, yeah, man. Well, it's working. Whatever you're doing is working, man. Because congrats, because I saw that you passed like 1K a while back. So,
dude, yeah, thanks, man.
um,
I saw you just hit 500 too, so
yeah,
that's
halfway
awesome,
there.
dude. It once you hit that five, like those big milestones are awesome, man. And like I feel like it only gets easier as you go, because like it's weird, but and maybe it shouldn't be this way, but it's like the more subscribers you have, I think people maybe take you a little more seriously. Like they're like, okay, maybe there's something to this guy. And I always had like imposter syndrome.
Dude, I still do, man.
Even now, like and it's like only it's like I'm like like I don't like telling people in my real life about my YouTube channel, because I just would feel weird about it. So like my family knows and some of my close friends and stuff. Because like watching myself on YouTube, like I hate it. Like the editing process is terrible for me because I'm like listening to the sound of my own voice over and over again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, that goal of hitting 1,000 was like the thing that kept me going. And now that once I've hit it, it's like I feel like I can kind of just take a step back and focus on doing like the work again. Like
Yeah.
actually just focus on the videos. Like the goal's been hit, so now I can kind of just have fun with it.
Would you say there was like a one video in particular that kind of really propelled you to hit 1,000, or just being consistent over time, putting out some good quality content?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I've been very lucky in a lot of ways because the day my first video even what came out, Ken from Mid Level Media had me on one of his physical media roundtables,
Oh, sweet.
and I think he got me up to like 80 subs like on the first day just from his
Yeah.
audience all watching and stuff.
You know, not to cut you off, but Ken was also one that shouted me out as soon as I think my first video was like a Criterion Hall video, and he immediately put me up on like his community page, and that got me up to like 50 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
he's really cool and like very generous, and his community's great. So um I got a big push from that. I had Jeff from Phillips at Home had me on his podcast.
dude, I remember that. That's a big one.
I was on, yeah, I mean, I was, this I was maybe at 600 or something at that point, and I got maybe 100 subs from him. So I've been very fortunate, and I've always tried to like, obviously, like I like to like, um, anytime I come across someone's channel who's like in that area of like under 1,000, but is doing similar things to what I'm doing, I'm like, oh hell yeah, like I'll definitely give you a sub. I'll like a video, leave a comment, because I know how good it feels to get those likes and those comments because we're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So like,
Mhm.
I always just I've been very lucky, and I've had a lot of people like help me out and stuff. As far as videos though, there's that one that is my most viewed one that I think I got a decent amount from that. I have a video essay on the Blair Witch Project that like like it just kind of consistently gets views. It's got like 4.1 thousand right now. It just continuously seems to draw people in because that's a movie that people really like to talk about. I think they love speculating and theorizing about it. So video essays on that particular movie always seem to do really well. So that's one that tends to kind of draw people to my channel, I think.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I couldn't point to one specific video. I think it's just been like a little bit of everything.
Combination of things.
Yeah.
There's because those are the best videos to make, is those that have that long lasting effect. You know that people can come back to at any time. Because if you're someone who just does, and nothing against this, because I've done these videos like haul videos on the recent releases. Once you hit your cap, like after the first couple of days, that's it. Like people aren't really gonna watch your video after that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So those videos that people can kind of go back to, like maybe like a video essay, um, kind of a breakdown of an older film, things like that. I think those are uh, kind of more effective, I guess, in terms of growing your view count and subscriber count if you have that goal.
Well, they're great because, like I was saying, those are the ones like that are the most fun for me to make. They're the most satisfying. They're the ones that I can be like really proud of because like, and it has to be a movie that I feel like I actually have something to add to the conversation. Like I don't want to just repeat a lot of the same things that everyone already knows and everyone's already
Yeah.
said. So like I was able to kind of bring my own personal experience to Blair Witch with that video and like talk about just why I think it's so great. And there's going to be some overlap, things people have already said, but I think it's kind of like for that particular movie, if you like Blair Witch, you'll watch any video essay because you want to see what people are saying about it, even if it's something you've already heard, even if they're saying it in maybe just a different way or you know what I mean. So those are the movies that really interest me and the kinds of things I like making videos on.
I need to go back to that one because I when I watched it, I wasn't that into it. I think it was late at night. I wasn't really in the mood. So I wasn't a big fan of watching, but I need to watch it again and then watch your video because I
Oh, it'd be
everyone
cool.
talks so highly about it and definitely want to give it a shot again. Because I missed out on so many movies like growing up because I horror was not really a big part of, well, movies in general were not really a big part of my childhood. Uh, but horror especially because I grew up in like a religious household,
Mm,
so horror was always kind of frowned upon. Even when I started watching more movies, going to the theater, I'd avoid horror movies because it was like a big no-no.
yeah.
But as I got older and of course started um, diving into those kind of things, I started, of course now I love horror. So I need to give a lot of those movies a second chance, or even I'm still watching a lot of classics for the first time. So
That's what's really interesting is it's like even though I really love horror movies, there's a ton of like big ones maybe I don't know, maybe not a ton, but there's a lot that I haven't seen. Definitely some of the more like niche stuff, but like so there's always something fun to discover. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, so that's something that's really cool about it. Is like you've always got things to look forward to. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a never-ending
Yeah,
journey.
it's like a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then real quick, I think I can start wrapping things up here shortly. But is this true?
No, that's
Did
he's
you
just
come?
no, he's being silly. That was a
Okay.
lot of fun though. That I would love to come back on if you're still watching, Eddie. I'd love to come back on your channel again at some point.
Yeah, we did a watch along with. I did a watch along with him a while back. We did one of. I always forget. I mix it up. Sweetie Sweeney Todd. I want to say no. Yeah, Sweeney Todd.
I've never seen that movie. It's like the musical, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've
yeah,
never
that one.
seen that. See, that's another example. I don't know if that's like a horror movie. It's like maybe horror adjacent, but that's
Yeah, I would say horror adjacent.
that's
Adjacent.
one that I haven't seen. So
Some people might call it a slasher.
yeah, I've seen like clips of it and stuff. It seems like he's like I don't know. Is he like cutting people's hair and killing them or something? Like I don't. I,
Something like that.
I never really quite knew what it was going on there.
But yeah, man, I know you kind of had to get out of here soon, so we'll kind of start wrapping things
Oh
up.
no,
But
we can go for at least 15 more minutes, 20 minutes.
yeah, sure, man. Having a good
Yeah,
conversation. That's cool. And
absolutely.
yeah, let me know. Let me know. We'll wrap it up around the 1:30 mark.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool, cool. So I guess on this, well, I kind of wanted to jump into some, I guess, newer titles. We've been talking about some collecting and I call it newer titles, newer films. Um, I guess what have you watched recently? Like, have you been to the? I know you mentioned Long Legs, but is there like a newer movie that's come out that has really stood out to you? Like maybe like an original. I know nowadays there's a lot of sequels and franchises, but is there
Yeah.
like an original, kind of like an original story that's kind of popped out at you lately?
Definitely Challengers. I really loved Challengers. That was a movie that came out of nowhere for me. I really like the filmmaker. I believe you pronounce Luca Guadagnino is how you pronounce his name. He did the Suspiria remake, Bones and All. He's done Call Me by Your Name. So I was anticipating Challengers. Didn't expect it to be as good as it was. The music in it is phenomenal, and the story I found really interesting. And Civil War I really liked. Really loved Long Legs. Like that's like my kind of horror movie. I really loved Long Legs. Maxine was kind of a disappointment for me, um, but I still liked it. So yeah, this year I haven't been going as much as I went last year. Mostly because I have a girlfriend now, and she likes to see things with me. So before, where I would just be going like by myself, like after work, I could go whenever I wanted. Now I kind of have to plan it around her schedule. So it's given like a give and take. But sometimes there's movies where I'm like, "Hey, are you interested in seeing this?" And she's like, "Nah, you can go see that one by yourself." So like that one, that's been cool. But yeah, like I don't know. There's a lot of stuff coming out in the back half of this year that I think is there's a lot of like stuff to look forward to, like Nosferatu
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm hyped for that one. Is that gonna be Eggers? Yeah,
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 Robert
that's
Eggers. Yeah,
Eggers. Yeah,
yeah, I'm hyped for that one, man, for sure.
yeah, I'm excited.
That's one I'm always so excited for new horror.
Me too, man. This year, like we had like we got Maxine, which I was very excited for. Um, God, I'm blanking now.
I still haven't even gone to see that one yet.
Maxine, Longlegs, Alien Romulus, and Nosferatu are like the big horror
Yeah,
movies that I was excited for. And apparently, we're getting the Return to Silent Hill movie at some
really,
point. Yeah, I think that might not come out this year. It might be next year. But like we have a trailer for that and everything, and I really like the Silent Hill movie from 2004. I think that one's very underrated and might be like the best video game movie.
really. I actually have not seen that one, and from what I have heard, people are generally down on that movie. From what I've heard. You're kind of maybe one of the few people that I've has talked
Yeah,
positively about it.
yeah. It's definitely, I would say, underrated. And I don't expect everyone to love it, but I really like the games and stuff, and I think it does a really great job. It uses music from the games
Oh, okay.
in the movie. I guess they were able to get the license to do that, but it goes a long way as far as like getting you to feel like you're in the games. And that movie's really kind of like it's got some really messed up like imagery and stuff in it.
Would you say that you have to be a fan of the game to really get the most out of it, or can you?
That would definitely help your enjoyment, but I don't think you have to be a fan of the game to enjoy it. No, I think you could definitely still watch it and enjoy it because I've only played the first two games. I haven't played any like I played some of the ones on the 360 like Homecoming and Downpour, but I never beat those games, so I'm not like an expert in the franchise or anything, but I do really like that movie. So,
I never really gotten into horror games just because they always freak me out.
dude,
but
yeah, it's tough,
my
man.
yeah, but my wife she loves Resident Evil games.
Me too, man. Resident Evil's my shit. I love Resident Evil.
Yeah, she's a big fan of those. So I guess aside from the newer releases, are there any like first time watches from any year, like first time kind of discoveries for you this year, like that you've seen, like a classic maybe, or I was
Hmm.
like, wow, I can't believe I've been missing out on that one.
Good question. Let me. I'm scrolling through my letterbox diary as we speak.
Yeah, I got it open here too
Ah, you
because
know,
I was
my girlfriend showed me The Room for the first time. You know The
the
Room
room.
with
Yeah, yeah,
Tommy
okay, yeah,
Wiseau.
yeah. I know Eddie's a fan of that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so she showed me The Room, and then we watched The Disaster Artist like right after that, which is like the
dude.
movie about the making of the movie.
Yeah,
So
I've
that
been
was
wanting to
like
do that.
that's honestly the best way to watch both of those movies is to watch them back to back. Because my name's Mark, as you know, and there's that scene where he's like, "Oh, hi, Mark,"
Yeah,
and like all my life, people have constantly been quoting that to me. So I finally was able to fucking understand it and like get the context for it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know how good those movies are. The Disaster Artist is actually really funny. So that was a big blind spot. Let's see. I watched the Fantastic Mr. Fox. Uh, that's like the
On
Wes
Criterion,
Anderson movie. Yeah, that was good. I like that.
it's a fun one.
Looking.
Yeah,
I rewatched 12 Angry Men. That had been a long time, but I really loved 12 Angry Men.
the original.
Yeah, another Criterion movie. Um, let's see. Honestly, man, this year I think don't tell my girlfriend this, but like having a girlfriend has like it's been harder to. I used to watch a lot more movies when I was single. I think I'll just put it that way. So and especially in the summertime, I'm so busy with work and stuff. So my movie watching has suffered. I think I only watched like 12 movies in June, which is like a terrible number for me. So, but usually after summer and we get into September and fall, which are like my favorite months of the year, I tend to pick it back up. So
Yeah, I was looking at my letterbox. I think um, since I got it each year, my total movies watched for the year is increased. So I've been exceeding those numbers every time.
yeah,
So
my goal is always to hit 365 for the year. I think the closest I got was like 320.
that's
I've
pretty good.
I've still never managed to do it just because I want to be able to do like one a year, one a day, you know. But it's so
Yeah,
hard to do that, man.
yeah. I don't think I can do that. The one year last year I did the 31 days of October, and that was a
Mm.
challenge.
Dude,
I didn't
I try it every year. I always fail. It's impossible.
I didn't do every day though. I did like some days I would do two.
Right, right.
So I would just
That's the
yeah.
way to do it. Yeah, but then it's like I enjoy doing that because it's like I love horror movies, so it's like I want to try to watch ones that I haven't seen instead of just watching the same ones every year. You know what I mean? So that's what's fun about that is like looking for new stuff.
One of my favorite things for October is just coming up with that watch list for October. the classics. It always has to be, Halloween, the usuals, but then that rotation of newer films, classics that you haven't seen, or new releases. So because that's all I watch in October. It's just pure horror.
Yeah, sometimes I'll throw in like a random one here and there to kind of spice it up.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, I'm always watching horror movies all October long.
Dude, one of my favorite, looking at my letterbox, one of my favorite discoveries from this year that I saw for the first time was the Blob remake. I thought that was,
Oh, from the 80s, right?
yeah, I thought that was freaking fantastic.
Dude, I really like that one. That's a good
Yeah,
movie. I need to rewatch that.
so good, dude. And I have that Scream Factory 4K with that, that witch poster I'm talking about. It's the Blob, and then that
Yeah.
figure. That's so
Yeah,
good.
I have the Blu-ray. I don't have the 4K for that one.
Oh, okay, I know which one. Yeah, and the 4K looks so good with those practical effects.
Yeah, that was one where I was like, see, like I already own the friggin' Blu-ray. Like I'm not gonna rebuy it because that's what all Scream Factory's been doing is re-releasing every movie, and it's like that's why I say I always come in. I came in at the wrong time because they're just re-releasing all the movies that I already bought. And it's like I'm like, I'm good. Like I think the Blu-ray is probably gonna be good for that one. So
See, I got into Scream Factory kind of late, and I still wouldn't say I don't even own that many. So all the 4K announcements are like first time buys for me. So kind of works out.
yeah, yeah, you're probably in a better position than I am for a lot of that stuff because I would like to have some of these 4Ks. Like a few of them I upgraded. I think I upgraded Black Christmas on 4K.
See, like that was the first time buy for me on 4K.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really good release. And I got like Halloween on 4K, but like obviously I would get that one because I love Halloween. So
Another one that's Season of the Witch was a first time buy on 4K. Um, I got them all back there. The Yeah, like the Burning, Creep Show, all those were first time buys.
oh, Creep Show. I did buy Creep Show on 4K because I had like a rinky dink Blu-ray that I think I spent like $5 on. So I was like, all right, I'll definitely buy the 4K for that. Oh,
Eddie
and
says,
the Carry 4K too. I got that one.
"Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
got the Steelbook.
yeah, same." So how do you decide between the Scream Factory slip or Steelbook? Is it just based on the artwork for you, or how do you do that?
Well, with that one, it was a case of I walked into Best Buy and I saw the 4K Steelbook on the shelf, and I was just like, they didn't have the slipcover, so I was like, oh, all right, well, I'll just buy it. Like,
I gotcha.
dude, it's like there's tons of movies where like I had zero intention of ever buying them, and then I see it out in the wild, and I'm like, it's right there, it's right there, like.
That's
Uh,
happened to me so many times.
Maybe I'll buy it now. Where it's like I wasn't planning on it, but now I did. It's funny.
Or like you go in for that one new release, and then you come out with like four titles that you weren't planning on getting.
Yeah, because you'll see stuff that you weren't expecting to see, and you're like, oh well, this changes everything because I don't have to put all my credit card information now. Like
Yeah,
it's just right here. Like online. I mean, where it's like it's more of a process online, and it's much less satisfying. Where you're just like clicking buttons, and then it shows up
yeah,
at your house. It's not as satisfying.
yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I got into collecting was that rush. Like just
It's addicting, bro. It's addicting, and that's I think a big part of why we all do it. But at a certain point, I had to check myself and be like, "Brother, you're out of room. Like you don't have room for this stuff." Like, and then it's just
dude.
like, it's just better to save your money most of the time.
Yeah, I already got to the point. I need to figure out something for my setup back here. Like I need to get some new shelving or something because this is my Criterion shelf right here. Like this
Oh,
long one. It's
oh,
not.
the tall. Okay, the tall
Yeah,
one.
it's not very ideal. So because it's kind of narrow. So I
Yeah,
already need to expand that. Like I can't buy a single more Criterion.
dude, that's kind of where I'm at. Where like I have my main shelf that houses most of my movies, and then I have like a shelf with like Scream Factory and Arrow Video. I have one that's for Criterion, and then I have one I have a lot of VHS tapes on there, and those are cool to like display. But if I ever wind up needing to, I might have to take those off and like put them in a tote because I don't really watch VHS. It's more just like a cool thing to have. I don't really collect for them. Like I had a phase where I was buying them. I realized it was kind of stupid, but it's mostly horror, and horror on VHS, they kind of go hand in hand. So I stopped buying those, but I have a bunch now, and eventually I might have to put them away to make room for like Blu-rays. But until
Yeah.
that day comes, they're just chilling over there.
Yeah, dude. And then I have this shelf right here that's just pure steelbook. I can't right
Oh,
there.
the
It's all
steelbook shelf,
steelbooks.
yeah.
So I also have like no more room for steelbooks. So I need to figure something out. I need to get those large, Atlantic media shelves or something.
Yeah, I have the
'Cause-
one Atlantic Media, and then I have three of the drawbridge shelves, where those are the ones that are a little smaller, and those are the ones that I have the most of. I have three of those.
And then it says, yeah, you summed it up pretty nicely there. That's basically what it is. And then he says he's high for Joker 2. Yeah, that's another one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that one out. I don't know how to feel about it, um, until I see it, because I didn't think that needed a sequel, but I don't know. It
Yeah.
could be good. It could be good.
And The Blob is a perfect example of a remake that's so much better than the original. Yeah, I enjoy the original. I actually have that Criterion version,
Same.
but yeah, remake way more
It's way
enjoyable.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
The original's cool. It's got a fun, catchy theme song,
Mhm.
but and the effects are cool for the time. Like you think about when that was made, the effects are pretty good. But like that dude, that's honestly one where I could probably get rid of that. Like I don't think I'm ever gonna watch that again.
You think so?
I might not, man. I mean, maybe around Halloween I could see myself popping that in. So it's hard to ever say like definitively, like I will never watch that again. Where it's like,
Yeah.
if it's a movie I hate, then yeah, it's easy to say. But if it's a movie where I was like, it was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Those are the ones that are like the tricky ones where it's like, does this have a place in my collection permanently? Like, could I see myself? Because I don't like getting rid of shit, especially Criterion's. But sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes you're just like, dude, I got to do it. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because there are some Criterions that I saw for the first time and I didn't enjoy them at all. But I could see myself revisiting it at at a different stage in life and maybe viewing it differently. But then it's
Exactly.
what are the odds? What are the chances that I'll actually do that? So it's just a tough call.
Exactly.
And then you have another recent example is I got Anatomy of a Fall. It was a first time watch on Criterion. I actually saw it last night, and I actually gave it 5 stars. But it's also one of those that like it doesn't hold that much rewatch value, because it's just so like long and dialogue driven, and like I know the outcome. So it's like, when am I going to sit and watch this 2.5 hour court drama again? Like, but it's such a good film. Like I'm glad I own it, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just one of
Yeah.
those things.
That was one that I loved whenever I saw that for the first time. I think I rented that. So that's one, like that and Peeping Tom are like the two that I was gonna get from this sale. But now I'm wondering if I might just wait for the November sale at this point, because I'm just not in any
Yeah.
rush. Like I can watch Peeping Tom on Criterion Channel. I've already seen Anatomy of a Fall, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anatomy of a Fall was really good. I love that movie.
Yeah. I guess for me, a lot of the times they're first time watches anyway. So
Yeah, that's what's fun about Criterion, man. Because more often than not, you're gonna get a really good movie.
I want one of those spinners that people show off.
Yeah, the spinning shelves, those do look cool.
And I think we're right around that time, man. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know appreciate you taking the time out of your evening here and hanging
Oh, of
out.
course, man.
It was a good chat, man. I definitely enjoyed having you on. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Anytime, man. Especially once summer's over, my schedule clears up a lot. So definitely would love to come back on, man. This is a ton of fun. I think you and I see eye to eye on a lot of different topics. So it was really cool getting to chop it up with you, man.
Yeah, agreed, man. I definitely want to start ramping up the channel here. So I definitely want to get, more lives, more videos, maybe some collabs and stuff like that. So we'll definitely link up, man.
For sure, man. Anytime, just DM me. I'm always down.
Sounds good, bro. Well, thanks to everyone in the chat for joining. Appreciate you guys hanging out, spending some time with us here. And if you are finding Mark for the first time, I linked all his stuff in the description. So make sure you go and follow him if you haven't already. But thanks so much, guys. Guess I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Take it easy, everyone.